Moogles, Chocobos, Cactuars, Behemoths, we're back again with the most comprehensive UR tier list for War of the Visions Summer Edition. We've got to blaze through this list because they just keep adding units to the game. I may or may not comment on every single unit because at this point, some units are just like George Clooney at the Oscars. They're there, but the kids just don't care anymore.
Oh, for f***'s sake. You know I'm busy, right?
Looking back 3 months later at the last tier list we did, with the exception of a couple units, this list was pretty damn good. There was some salt in the comments, there was some vinegar, so I fully expect you to bring the same to this video in the comments section below, because it's by far my favorite type of potato chip. We have the units separated out into roles, tanks and bruisers, physical attackers, magic attackers, and support and utility. I decided to remove Steal Time as a category because there's enough units in the game that have that ability now, and it's really not that much of a thing anymore. Since some units can fit into multiple roles, I do my best to grade them in their primary roles. Also remember that we have EX and 120, so this tier list is based off the information that we know. Even in JP, there are a lot of units that haven't gotten EX jobs yet, so we have to try our best to avoid speculation. Remember though that it seems to be a recurring trend that OG units aren't quite as strong as new or limited collaboration units, even as more EX upgrades roll out. Lastly, and most importantly, as more and more EX units fall off the assembly line, the balance of the game seems to keep getting better. There's not a tremendous difference between the tiers, especially when you factor in gear, vision cards, and espers. Just because a unit is lower on the tier list doesn't mean it's bad, it just means it's less loved than its counterparts, you know, kind of like Strawberry Cream Twinkies or Liam Hemsworth. If you guys like the video, do that YouTube thing, put on your cowboy hat, saddle up, because we're riding off into the summer sunset. Let's just get Thancred out of the way right now. He moves down into Moogle, the great shame of Goomy. His EX will probably hit sometime around October or November, so he's basically just worthless until then. Cactuar tier Whisper moves up with her EX coming soon, and depending on your tools, she could be as high as Tonberry tier if you build up magic or slash resist. For a lot of players, however, she remains difficult to make the most out of her kit. Raldor and Cecil both move down. Cecil is still pretty useful for PvE because of his barrier skills, but again his EX is a ways off, so you will probably find yourself using other units for the time being. Raldor, his EX is probably about 8 months away, and we just as well call him El Chupacabra because I haven't seen him in the wild since the week of his release. Chocobo tier, Engelbert gets his EX in September, but it is a little bit underwhelming. He'll still be a solid physical tank, but he's still too slow and not versatile enough to break into the higher tiers. I moved Glaciella EX into Bruiser because she gets more survivability, another unit that's very solid with EX but remains very AP hungry as her only drawback. Winter Venera, kind of a forgotten unit. We know what her EX looks like. She's a solid magic tank. Maybe we'll see more usage in Global with UR Zazon in the mix to counter Helena and Salir. The cloud hanging over her head is if or when Goomy gives us the EX for winter units. Until that happens, she's kind of uninspiring. Lastly, El Sorel remains a solid bruiser unit. The Nightblade subjob remains a solid kit, even with her EX well beyond the horizon. In Tonberry, I'll start with Tifa and Barrett. Both units can be Behemoth tier in the right circumstances, but also Chocobo if you have absolutely no tools for them. This lands them right in between as units you can build around with very solid overall kits. Agrius remains as one of the very few non-EX units in the top tiers. Sorry, no rap this time, guys. She dropped from Behemoth, but her ranking here should be a testament to just how strong she actually is. Look for an announcement in JP in the next 3 months for Tactics EX, where I could see her vaulting right back into the regular meta. Warrior of Light and Rain, great all-purpose physical and magic tanks respectively. Both are plug and play in many different teams. 9S rounds out the tier. You have to fiddle with his AI a little bit to get him working how you want, but still a lot of different buffs and a strong bruiser unit overall. In the Behemoth tier, we start with Simba, Lion King Mont. I mean, do I really need to spell this out for you? He's the best tank in the game. Put him in any team, any gear, any Esper, any vision card, and he's still probably going to work for you. He's premium though, which makes him tough for free-to-play or casual players to build up. Another premium unit, Dwayne, lands in here, and we got his EX early in Global, so he jumps back into Behemoth tier. His tanking abilities aren't quite the same as King Mont, but his damage and HP drain is scary enough. Titus, I tried to tell everyone during the anniversary how good he was. He still gets a ton of run in JP between PvP and PvE. Most people use him as a bruiser, which is why he's in this category, but make no mistake, he is still a very top tier damage dealer if you decide to go that route. Lastly, Charlotte will make a big impact as an all-purpose tank on her release. She's built to tank magic, but she can also withstand physical attacks very well, and is the closest thing we have to an Agrius-like tank for a while. Probably the smartest investment for free-to-play or casual players in the next few months, given that she isn't limited or double cost like the other units in this tier. Moving on to physical DPS, there's really not much to say here. Even though she has her own church here on YouTube, Eileen is still the worst Brave Exvius unit. Oldoa EX is terrible, trust me, I have her. And Yerma is a one-trick pony at this point with her limit break for raids and bosses, and Elda, yeah, he just doesn't make the cut. In the Cactuar tier, Lucia, Delita, Luartha all move down as EX units push them out. Stern and Giza just don't compare to the other strong dark units, still fine for PvE, but very niche use in PvP right now. Rob actually moved up, and if you have his vision card maxed out, you pair him with 120 light units, he can be a terror, but it's a pretty specific build and not enough to warrant a higher general rating. And Winter Ramada, cute horns, but come on, let's be real. Chocobo tier, and this is looking like the elevator from Captain America Winter Soldier.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Orlandu drops down, Nivlu drops down, both EXs are a ways off. Ketone should see a lot of usage with UR Zazon as well as Moraga, but both are limited outside of Earth only teams. The selection and free units all land here as solid units that can work in specific teams, but generally are just okay compared to other units. Victoria and Winter Masherie have really cool EX upgrades, but not quite enough to justify a higher ranking without supporting vision cards. Lastly, I don't imagine that Summer Lilith EX will be quite good enough when looking at the units in the next two tiers. Frederica starts the Tonberry tier, still maybe the best OG unit in the game with barrage, defense penetration, and absurd damage. She's also great as a vacation partner. Laswell jumps right back into the absurd range when his EX hits. His vision card should get a global upgrade for him as well. He will be a top tier damage unit, especially given how strong the ice element can be. Speaking of ice, Verlick is in this tier, and this might surprise some people given I don't recommend him in any of my monthly guides, but ice slash units are generally well equipped to dominate, and Verlick is no exception. Venera, y'all hated on her in the last tier guide, and let's take a moment to appreciate just how wrong you guys were. It's alright, I'll wait. The full evasion build you have to plan specifically for to counter her in PvP, and she still remains infinitely useful for PvE, especially for raids and trials. She's also clear competition with Helena for the Mom Waifu Award. Kane hangs around in Tonberry just like Agrius, a testament to how strong his kit actually is. There are better dark units, sure, but a 99 Kane still holds his own in the world of EX, which tells you all you need to know. Winter Victoria, I owe an apology to. She is one of the strongest PvP units in the game, and assuming we get her EX sometime in the next 3 months, she's a plug-and-play anti-Simba unit with barrier breaking and buff dispels. Her usage is a little more limited for PvE, but still a very strong overall unit. Jazzman Oron rounds out Tonberry. Paired with other ice units, he has the ability to one-shot almost anything except the strongest tanks, some nice party buffs as well. He's a little more rare than many of the units in the game, but he more than pulls his weight in any team. Even though Tin Man Stern has a comparatively disappointing EX, he will still be pretty ridiculous with some added survivability, barrier breaking, and AP management. The other premium unit, Gilgamesh, is a behemoth tier as well. I really can't figure out why nobody talks much about him. He has buff dispels, he has a huge AoE re-raise cancel, massive damage and range, quicken, magic resistance party buffs. even more useful when Zazans are running around everywhere in global. I see him as the most future-proof unit in the game right now, and I recommend every player who doesn't have him maxed out, put him in the guild barracks, farm his hard quest every single day. Even if it takes 6 or 8 months, you should find a way to EX 120 him. Both 2B and Zazan land in the Behemoth tier, if not only because they are the most annoying evasion units in the game that can also do lots of other stuff. Both can play Batman and Robin with other units, 2B with Tifa and Zazan with Katone. Both will have major impacts in PvE and PvP for many months. Lastly, the emotionless ex-soldier Cloud rounds out Behemoth. He pretty much ignores defense and gets huge buffs to critical rate and damage, which makes him the ultimate tank buster. Barriers and slash resist can slow him down somewhat, but if you plan around those weaknesses, there's no denying that he's a high impact damage dealer, good in a lot of different team compositions. Moving on to magic units, Howlet and Skahal land in Moogle tier. Decent units in their own right, but until we get some glimpse of their EX upgrades, they'll probably remain on the sidelines for most accounts. The Cactuar tier comes with a pair of Earth units. There's a time when Kilthe and Zombie Ryu ran PvP, but their current use is a little bit limited. Ryu might get niche use decreasing Earth resist for Zazan or Lilith, but when news of EX for either of these units hits, I fully expect players to be lining up like the children at the sidewalk corner hearing the jingle of the ice cream truck. Medina and Gargus land in Chocobo tier as two units that are powerful in their specific roles, but not very versatile in the things that they can do. Summer Katone has a good kit, and we should get a glimpse into how strong the EX Kododama wielder can be sometime this summer. Ildira, even at 99, remains a solid if not necessary investment for all players. While her PvP usage is all but non-existent right now, she is still a staple for tackling PvE like story modes, 3-star Esper quests, and brutal difficulty challenges. Halloween Leela starts off Townberry, and again, anytime a non-EX unit sneaks into the top 2 tiers, you should take note. She's kind of like Ildira with full life and still on the fringes of viable for top level PvP. Similarly, Sakura has staying power without her EX, primarily because of the Bahamut and Carbuncle cards, but she can still one-shot a lot of 120 units and is a big-time help in PvE content. More could be put in either tank or magic DPS, a versatile magic wielder and anti-magic unit. One of her best assets is that she counters, at least to some degree, King Mont, Helena, and Yuna. Even better, she gets all of her good stuff at level 115, so you can slow farm the last 200 shards if you're skimpy on Vizor. Paired with other strong water units, she'll definitely be a great investment. Lastly, Jaden enters Tonberry in September. He's a light magic unit, so because of Bahamut, it's hard not to rank him here. While his usage will depend on some of the tools that you have for light units on your account, his top gear is pretty fast and scary. Garvel and Pom Pom Hair start off Behemoth tier, and yes, Garvel can still be considered Behemoth even at level 99. It's a testament to just how broken the Energist job really is. I'm pretty sure they just bypassed the quality control on this job class, though at this point I'm not convinced that at Gumi this department is anything more than a career builder commercial.
Hey guys, just thought you might want to know, sales aren't up, they're down.
Black Witch Helena, pretty obvious, not much to say. She's the Cool Ranch Dorito of War of the Visions in a tier of her own. Finally, let's talk about support and utility, and we have Mashery. And I don't care if you're EX, I don't care if you fight for what you love, I don't care that Mysidia and Oranjay think you're just the bee's knees, because you're just not. Miranda, Rose, and Ramza round out the next tier. Ramza sees a nice jump with the release of the Sword of Light, but his kit still doesn't do much until his EX is unveiled. Similarly, Rosa can still hang around with mono ice teams as support, but at this point she's becoming suboptimal compared to some other units. Miranda can be awesome, but her EX is nowhere in sight. Ayaka and Freyevia anchor the Tonberry tier. Both are solid support units. Bryevia probably a little more versatile with her magic tanking ability, but Ayaka's instant heals, full life, and AP charges are also nice. Both end up as solid choices for PvP support and extremely useful for PvE and brutal difficulty quests. Ramira is cool as a dark support unit, and her time mage and white mage abilities are also nice to have. Luelle lands in Tonneberry as a fantastic support and magic DPS unit, while her full potential is tied to Mono Earth. With the release of UR Zazon, Summer Lilith, Moraga, and EX Santa Kitty Venera, I fully expect she'll be featured in a lot of different teams throughout the next 6 months. Aerith is much more than a mono element unit, probably the best overall suite of healing and defensive abilities in the game. The only thing holding her back from Behemoth is the lack of an auto hit ability or a raise or full raise ability. Not really sure what Gumi was thinking with that one. Yuna pretty obviously stays in Behemoth tier. Sure, she has her counters and things like re-raise are becoming more common, as well as the counters to re-raise, but there's no denying that she's still the best all-purpose support unit in War of the Visions. She has re-raise, full life, multiple auto hit abilities, and the coup de grace. Aeon Bond, which is much like Reflex, can single-handedly win PvP fights and solo the entire tower. No, that's not a joke. And there it is, guys, the full UR tier list for summer 2021 in War of the Visions Global. Hopefully this list gives you a good general idea on how to plan for your account in the future or what to build next. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I am looking forward to the salt. Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, you knew that was coming.